Hi there, Bengals fans. Tom Downey of Chat Sports here. We're going to break down the latest on Joe Mixon, who unfortunately once again finds himself in the headlines that he does not want to be involved in. We are about 200 subs away from 1,000, 196 to be exact. Help us get there. Simply put, the more subscribers we have on our Bengals channel, the more videos we can do. Our newly launched Commanders and Texans channels already have the lead over us. Let's get that changed. More Bengals videos simply by subscribing right now. We're going to break down the latest on Joe Mixon. We'll spend a lot of time breaking down what we actually know because, well, there were a lot of social media claims last night, at least some of which appeared to have some truth to them. Background here is that last night there was claims on social media that Mixon had shot a minor, that there was Nerf gun fights going on near his property, and he came out and shooting. What we actually know for certain, I want to emphasize that part beyond just claims on social media. Mixon is reportedly part of an investigation into a shooting of a minor near his home. The minor went to the hospital with minor injury, so good news on that front there. No arrests have been made, and it is still unclear if Mixon was actually involved in said shooting. Here's the timeline per Fox 19 out of Cincinnati. Around, and this is all rough timing because, give or take a couple minutes is fine. 8:30 p.m., there were reports of shots fired at Joe Mixon's house. Police have also confirmed it was Mixon's house, by the way. Crime scene tape was then put up there around 11 p.m. At 11:30 per Fox 19, police go on and knock on the door, and they ask the homeowner to exit the house. There was, I think, one person inside at that point. 12:15 a.m., a car pulls up and is allowed to then enter the driveway, go inside, etc. At that, also worth noting, at the 11:30 time frame, no one really came out and answered there. At 1:30 a.m., police arrived with was described as documents. I interpret that as it was a warrant to enter the house. 12 a.m., deputies enter. They've got note-taking equipment, etc. there. 3:20 a.m., that would be this Tuesday morning here. Crime scene tape is taken down. No arrests were made, and that's where we currently sit. Now, Mixon's sister Shelonda told WLWT in Cincinnati that her brother was not involved in the shooting, and that's kind of all we know. Now, we're just waiting to see what else comes of this situation, and I think it's important to remember you gotta let the investigation play out because that's how we do things here in America. But it's another troubling example of Joe Mixon getting himself into headlines, and negative headlines, I should say, that you really don't want when you're already in a precarious spot on the roster bubble. Now, ideally, it wasn't Mixon involved at all from the Bengals' perspective. If he was, it starts to get a little bit easier for them to make that decision. So the pinned comment here on today's show is, will the Bengals cut Joe Mixon? We'll go more in depth on the Mixon side and why, even if he didn't do anything here, a cut is still a very likely outcome for this organization. But I want you guys to vote in the comments. Y for yes, N for no at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, Mixon got in trouble back in late January. He was accused of misdemeanor aggravated menacing. That charge was later dropped, which is a significant thing to point out in this conversation. But you tack that on, you tack on this incident, and that's two things in a very short period of time you don't want one of your players involved in. That is red flags everywhere. Even on the field, ignoring all the off-the-field stuff, a release of Mixon does start to make sense. $12.76 million cap hit in 2023. The Bengals would save $7.26 million if they cut him before June 1st. They would save a little over $10 million after June 1st. But they don't get that money until after that timeline. And with a difference of less than $3 million, if you're going to cut him, you cut him now, take that $7 million, go sign somebody in free agency. And it starts to make sense because, well, folks, I regret to inform you that every single player who's gotten paid at the running back spot, they don't often get a second or I guess a third contract with that team. Mixon's numbers, touchdowns were great. He was fine in 2021, but we're talking basically sub 4 yard per carry guy the past 4 years, or at 4 yards a carry. That's replaceable. I can find a running back pay him less than $7 million, way less, and get the production. I know the offensive line correctly gets blamed there, but doesn't that mean you'd rather invest in the offensive line than invest in the running back? That's the way I interpret it. So we'll go more here again on Mixon in a moment, some potential replacements. But if you want more Bengals videos, go subscribe to our Bengals-only YouTube channel, youtube.com/BengalsTV. That link, again, is in the comment section and the description of today's video. And if you're watching on our Bengals channel, just hit that subscribe button. Nice and easy. Make sure those notifications are turned on. In the event the Bengals decide to move on from Mixon, well, running back now gets a little bit murkier. Samaje Perine, who maybe they bring back, is set to be a free agent as well. Trevion Williams, too. That would leave under contract Chris Evans and Elijah Holyfield. And Holyfield's probably not going to make your roster. Evans offers some third down back pass catching ability, but running back would then be a significant need for this Bengals team. And if you move on from Mixon and or you don't bring back Samaje Perine, could be a massively different backfield in Cincinnati in 2023. So who do you want as the Bengals starting back next year? Could be Joe Mixon. Could be Perine. Could be somebody maybe not on the team. We'll break down some options here in just a second, but drop that player for me in the comments. All right, let's hit some options here in terms of the players the Bengals could look to draft because, hey, they did this for a while. They were taking second, third round picks, running back, and just kind of shuffling through them there. Bijan Robinson, of course, is the big name that really stands out from that standpoint, the Texas back. But, do you want to take him in round one? I'm not so sure. Jahmyr Gibbs offers you great speed. So does Devon Achane at Texas A&M. Zach Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby are more of your workhorse-style backs. They're a little bit bigger. Same with Roschon Johnson, also out of Texas. Tajay Spears has really great production in his background. Israel Abanikanda out of Pitt. Eric Gray, Zach Evans. Those last two are transfers. Evans, TCU to Ole Miss. Eric Gray, Tennessee to Oklahoma. It is a loaded running back class. And frankly, if I'm the Bengals, I'm taking somebody at some point. Maybe you take two running backs. This class, it's not just 10 deep of guys that could go in the top 4 rounds. You're talking maybe even 15 names at that point. Could also sign somebody who's much cheaper. Now, as we sit here filming this, no decision made who the Giants will end up tagging. Could be a situation where the Giants get a deal done with DJ and then they tag Barkley, or I think more likely with a couple hours to go until the franchise tag deadline, they tag DJ. Barkley hits the open market. But that would be spending big. Do you want to do that one? I'm not so sure. Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery, maybe Jamal Williams as your kind of goal line featured back. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, the Dolphins are free agent. Damian Harris, actually kind of a decent, I think, under-the-radar option at the position. There are guys you can find. You could save the $7 million by cutting Joe Mixon, give $3 million to somebody in free agency, and then take that other $4 million and more you're saving longer term and give it to T. Higgins, because the Bengals have been crystal clear they're not going to trade Higgins. Cutting Mixon frees up money you can then send to T. Higgins at that point. So it's all the bigger overarching picture in the long term about Mixon. In the short term, we're going to wait and see what exactly happened last night, and hopefully everyone remains okay. Of course, the focus still is on the minor who was injured. Hopefully they're okay beyond whatever the minor injuries that they sustained. And hopefully everything gets sorted out, and look, we'll know in the near future what happened on that front.